Good morning. Arthur Offaly speaking on behalf of the Arthur Offaly Foundation, a totally independent victims group with no affiliation to any paramilitary groups or any government agencies. Now, over the next couple of weeks, I will be reading about those scum who I spoke to get justice for my unarmed murdered father, Arthur Joseph Rafferty, all to no avail. The IRA veteran Brandon Darky Hughes revealed the secrets of a Provo hit team who murdered the father of dying Dr. Arthur Joseph Rafferty. For years, the champion boxer tried to find out who killed his father, Arthur Jack Spot Rafferty, in the 1970s in North Belfast, and why. And out of the blue, one day in 2007, he received a call from the most revered members of the IRA notorious Belfast Brigade. They made contact with Arthur. Darky Hughes had seen Arthur's mobile number in one of the Sunday papers over his campaign to get justice for Belfast deep sea dockers. He invited me round to his flat in the Divis Towers for a chat. He said he had some information about my father's murder. For the first time in 35 years since his brutal murder, a senior figure in the IRA broke the organisation's vow of silence and revealed details of a murder operation. Up until then, all the Rafferty family knew was that the IRA had shot him and had made up a pack of lies to justify his murder, said Arthur Joseph Rafferty Jr. Now, Darky Hughes told me that Freddie Scappi was the gunman who shot my father. They killed him because he stood up to them in the Belfast docks. They knew they couldn't push him around, so they killed him and tried to slander his good name. Now, Arthur Joseph Rafferty died on September the 8th, 1974 in the RVH. 3 weeks after he was found lying bleeding on the ground at Newington Street in the New Lodge district of North Belfast. A caller to the Irish News said the attack had been a so-called punishment shooting. It was a tissue of lies. They couldn't tell the truth about why they did it. They couldn't admit that they had shot a man because he stood up to them and the bully boys at the Belfast docks and would not be pushed around. Arthur Jack Spot Rafferty was described as many people as a handsome man who stood 6 feet tall, unwed, in at 14 stone, and feared no one at the Belfast docks. Darky Hughes told me that 2 dockers came into the hole-in-the-wall bar and asked my dad to come outside. He said one of the men was Martin Meakin, who also worked at the Belfast docks and had a reputation of being a hard man, and was also a member of a ruthless IRA team in the north of Belfast. Whatever they said to my father that evening, it was enough to convince him to go with them. They must have to give him some cock and bull story, because he wouldn't have gone quietly if he knew there was trouble. They didn't call him Jack Spot for nothing. They named my father after a London gangster called Jack Spot, who was a hard man and nobody's fool. And my father had the reputation of being a hard man and a very clever man at that. He once trained for 4 years to be a priest and then decided it was not for him. The Darky told me that they walked him down into Newington Street. Darky said my father was shot 5 times in the back and legs. It was a punishment shooting. Now, I met Darky Hughes in his flat, not once but twice. He told me exactly what happened that day. He said that Scappi was the gunman who shot my father. I had heard whispers before, but this was the first time someone of Darky Hughes' rank was able to confirm it. He told me that they were driven away in a car by a man who is now a taxi driver in North Belfast, but this man has since died not too long ago. While lying in the RVH, the father of it, Arthur Jack Spud Rafferty, refused to talk to RUC detectives who came to visit him looking for clues to his killers. I remember not long before my father died, and he was lying in bed with all the tubes hanging out of him. He was about to tell me who shot him, but he stopped. He says it would bring too much trouble to me. He knew I would face these people. He was right, but as he lay on his deathbed, I made him a promise that I would not rest until I found out who shot him. Arthur has kept the promise he made his father, and in 2005 he wrote to the PSNI to inquire about his father's murder. A PSNI chief inspector wrote back and said his dad was shot giving chase to the gunmen. However, an initial report by the Histories Inquiries team into the murder said his father was shot from a range of 81 feet. So all along the original police investigation was wrong. A complete lie made up. I am now waiting on the final report from the HCT. The HCT report also revealed that the US-made Armalite rifle that fired the fatal shots was destroyed by the RUC in 1977 on the orders of a senior police officer, even though it had been used 4 times by the IRA after the murder of my father. Now, my father's clothes, including his shoes, went missing after he was the very shoes he was wearing when he was shot. At the time of the shooting, cannot be found. Now, a boiler suit, a balaclava, gloves, a magazine for the rifle found in a flat at 12 Newington Street, a safe house of the IRA, has also vanished. A witness statement from a man whose car was hit by a stray bullet on the night my father was shot cannot be found either. No records are available of forensics being taken from the same crime. Arthur, a former All-Ireland amateur and professional champion boxer, was a bantamweight and audit. I must have been dealing with the Keystone cops, because how can all these things go wrong? Someone was covering up for Freddie Scappi. Darky Coos told me that it was Scappi who murdered my father, and I have no reason not to believe him. All the evidence that the police have about Scappi was lost. It is a disgrace. Scap's file also gone missing, and everything about him has been removed from Northern Ireland. All this evidence was then taken from a fortified police station at York Road, RUC station on the Shore Road, a station that was manned 24 hours a day. How can anyone believe anything that corrupt RUC tell you after the mess they made of my father's original investigation? Just to protect their Sinn Féin IRA informer, that mass murderer, Freddie Scappi. Now, this loyalist paramilitary group, calling themselves a police force, have for the past 45 years withheld vital evidence about my father's murder. They knew who murdered my unarmed father since 1974 and said nothing to protect their Sinn Féin area informer and mass murderer Freddie Scappi, who was also a top British agent working for the British government. Scappi killed many innocent members of the Irish public here in the north of Ireland on the orders of that corrupt RUC, PSNI and the British government, including my pure innocent father Arthur Joseph Rafferty in 1974. So how can anyone call that corrupt RUC, PSNI a police force? They should be disbanded straight away. Now, Watch more of my stories in my fight to seeking justice for my father's murder. Anyone who would like a tape of this story or any one of my stories can call me on my mobile 07715921137. Leave your name and address and I will send you a tape free. Thank you. Anyone who has a story to tell and wishes me to air it can call me on my mobile 07715921137, or I can send a reporter out to get your story. And remember, I will tell your story as you tell me. Nothing will be cut out. Now watch more of my stories on YouTube, ArthurOftley.com, ArthurOftley.Docker, ArthurOftley Jackspot 2012. That is a tip about the brutal murder of my father by a 5-man gang of Sinn Féin IRA, led by Freddie Scappi on the orders of the British government. Scappi carried out this work on behalf of the RUC, who not only did they want my father dead, but they paid Scappi to murder him, and they also give him the rifle to do it. Now, my email is arthuroftley1@gmail.com. Once again, I'll finish off by saying, how can anyone with any, you would have to be brain dead to believe what the RUC say. Good day. Have a nice day.